If you're like me, nobody wants to live in a crime-ridden area, and diversity is very, very important to know. I'm Trey with the Cavalry Group, brokered by Real. Let's dive right in. A lot of the comments on my previous videos was asking about crime and diversity. Now, this is something that realtors don't like to talk about, and it's one of those that can possibly violate fair housing laws. But in this video, we are going to talk about it. I'm gonna go over San Antonio and the surrounding suburbs and talk about those two things, crime and diversity. Now, the reason I'm gonna talk about the suburbs instead of the particular neighborhoods is because San Antonio has over 334 neighborhoods just in the city limits. And there's outside the city limits, there's suburbs that's literally touching San Antonio. That's a 5-minute drive from San Antonio. So I'm gonna group them all together, and then you can get more specific. I was a cop in the city for 10 years. Now I have a real estate team. So I know about crime and diversity more than anyone, or I'd like to think so. According to Neighborhood Scout, San Antonio is full of young people. The majority of people are in their 20s and 30s, and I think it has to do with the affordability. Also, there's a lot of things to do, and it's very, very inexpensive to live here, and commodities and amenities are a lot cheaper than other major cities. We are also military USA with 4 bases around San Antonio, and you have universities that encompass a huge part of the San Antonio community. Another interesting fact is 80% of the people that go to work are single drivers. That means only 20% of the population, which is over 1.5 million, only 20% use mass transportation or ride sharing. That's why in the comments you guys were blowing up about how terrible these drivers are. Now, according to other cities and other people who commented about other major cities, it's not so bad. At least I don't think so. San Antonio has a crime index of 4. Now, it's not what you're thinking where 1 is the best, it's the opposite. So 100 is the safest, and we are number 4. Wow. San Antonio has 11,583 violent crimes, 57,261 property crimes of a total of 68,000 and change number of crimes. That is a lot of crimes. Now, compared to other cities, a good way this website tracks it is per 100 people. So per 100 people, 8.07, 39.91, total of 47.99 crimes per 100 people, which isn't too bad. No, actually, that's pretty bad. I wanted to compare San Antonio to another Texas city, which is our neighbors down the street in Houston, and their crime index is a 3. So apparently they have more crime. But then again, they have a population of 2.3 million, which is about 700,000 more than we do. And their violent crimes are about 13 per 100 people, which is probably a little bit worse. But Houston's a great city. I love their 2 different downtowns. I have no idea where I am when I'm there. And there's always Austin, who's right up the road, about an hour and a half from San Antonio. And they only have half the population we do, which is a crime rate of 6, which is pretty close to 4. But it's Austin. Nobody wants to live there.
Are you okay?
No.
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 Now let's look at the diversity in age and then race. Half of the population is between 18 and 54, and according to Neighborhood Scout, it is majority of 20 and 30-year-olds, which makes it a very young city and a lot of potential for change. Median household income in San Antonio is $53,000. The majority of the jobs, according to Neighborhood Scout, is healthcare, retail, accommodation, education, construction, and finance. Finally, the race and ethnicity makeup of San Antonio is the majority of Hispanic. Makes sense because that's our culture. We have fiesta, we have all this delicious Mexican food. The culture is very warm and welcoming, and it's not really a city of hustle and bustle. 64.7 according to Neighborhood Scout is Hispanic or Latino, 24% white, 6.3% Black or African American, 2.9 Asian, 1.9 other race. Let me know what you think about the race and diversity of San Antonio, especially if you live here. Top 2 languages spoken here in San Antonio is English and Spanish, but they forgot one, and it's called Spanglish. Como yo hablo español and I speak English, I can relate to it. Median home price in San Antonio is $320,000. Just like I said in my other video, prices tank. San Antonio median home price dropped $35,000 with all these height rakes and double the amount of homes for sale. We are seeing a shifting market. Now let's get a little deeper into what areas of San Antonio is mainly populated in diversity and what areas are more crime or less crime. So now we're gonna go to Schertz, Texas, which is the largest suburb San Antonio has. It's literally 5 minutes away from San Antonio, and a lot of the residents live and work there. And we're gonna see the crime and diversity for Schertz. Here's a secret, Schertz itself is located in 3 different counties. Bexar County has the highest taxes in Schertz. So if you want to save taxes, don't live on the Bexar County side of Schertz. So Schertz itself has a crime index of 48. Whoa, we're getting much better in these numbers. Violent crime comparison per 1,000 residents is only 1.45. There have been no murders in Schertz, or no murders reported. Schertz has a total population of about 42,000, and the majority of the population is from 35 all the way up over 65. And that makes sense because Schertz is a suburb, it's known for its schools, very easy access to 35, you can get pretty much to Austin or San Antonio, and there's not a lot of commercial development. Median household income in Schertz is double what San Antonio is, which is about $85,000, and more than the USA average. Employment industries in Schertz is mostly healthcare, retail, and public service. So a lot of the first responders and veterans, they do work in San Antonio and live obviously in the suburbs like Schertz. And we're going to talk about other suburbs and then the last ones of bonus. Now, median home price in Schertz is $356,000, which is not too far off of San Antonio. Employment in Schertz is mainly healthcare again. Race and ethnicity, you have 51.9% white, 31% Hispanic or Latino, 10.4% Black and African American, 4% other race, 2.5% Asian. Languages spoken in Schertz is English and Spanish, majority English. Next suburb I'm going to talk about that's about 10 minutes from San Antonio is Floresville. I know our clients love to go to Floresville. We've relocated families to Floresville. It's one of the most, in my opinion, diverse areas of San Antonio. Floresville is located on the very far southeast of San Antonio, but there has been a lot of development. There's a lot of farm and ranch, there's a lot of commercial development, so it's definitely one of those up and coming towns. Let's talk about the crime and diversity. Now, if you look at the makeup of Floresville, it's huge. It does take up a lot of area, so everybody's very spaced out. But in 20 minutes, depending on where you live in Floresville, you can get to the heart of downtown very easily. Floresville has a crime index of 33, safer than 33% of the cities in the US, with only a violent crime rate of 2.9. According to Neighborhood Scout, it says it only has a population of 7,000. I think it hasn't been updated in a while because there's a lot of traffic around Floresville. There's other little towns around Floresville, but we're giving you that because it's the biggest suburb on the southeast side. Flores' median household income is only around $50,000, which is much less, and it seems like it's the area where you can get the biggest bang for your buck. There's space, there's new developments, and it's a really short ride. And another similarity is the employment, and number one is healthcare. Construction, manufacturing, administration, retail, but that's the third city in a row with healthcare is number one. Race and diversity, according to Neighborhood Scout, is very similar to the demographic of San Antonio. You have 68.3% Hispanic Latino, 29% white, 1% Black African American, 1% Asian, and about 1% other races. Languages spoken, English and Spanish, has a median home price of $479,000. That's over $120,000 more than its neighbor, San Antonio. But the household income is pretty close to San Antonio, so maybe more people work in the house. Floresville is a very popular suburb because of those reasons. One of the downsides is it doesn't have a major highway in Floresville, so you do have to take the county roads, and that can get a little crowded. Helotes, Texas is next, which is pretty much bordering San Antonio. And it has a similar population of Floresville with 9,000 people, but I think it has more than that. Helotes is a very popular destination for people because they don't have a lot of HOA communities, there's more land, and the accessibility is very easy to anywhere in the city. Helotes has 89% of its workforce that are white-collar jobs, which is well above the national average. Now let's go to the crime rate in Helotes, which is indexed 43 out of 100. They reported only 3 violent crimes and only 0.3 per every 1,000 residents. That's pretty good odds. Helotes is considered part of the hill country, and there's not a lot of development in Helotes, which, you know, you gather people, you may see a spike in crime index, but Helotes is very spread out. So I'm not surprised with these numbers on Neighborhood Scout. Helotes demographics is very similar to Schertz. 35 to over 65 is the majority of the city. What's very surprising is the median household income is almost $113,000. That's triple the amount in San Antonio, which is literally, I could throw a rock there. And employment industries are education, healthcare, and finance. Now there is a very large university, UTSA, and I want to say that's where a lot of the teachers, executive, college professors live because it's very close to the northwest side of town. Race and ethnicity of Helotes is pretty much neck and neck. You have white population about 50.2%, Hispanic or Latino 43.2%, Asian 3.9%, Black or African American 1.9%, and then other races about 1%. And English is the main language in Helotes. Median home price in Helotes is $460,000. Now there's other areas of Helotes that are not incorporated with the town of Helotes. It's bigger than the map shows you right here. There is some very beautiful homes, and my favorite part about Helotes is Government State Park. It's a very, very beautiful state park. Highly recommend you check it out. Next up, we have Boerne, Texas, which if you live in Boerne or if you visited Boerne, you're gonna be pissed off that I'm talking about Boerne because it's very likely going to attract people, and I know what you're thinking. You don't want more people there because it seems to be overpopulated. Boerne has a population of about 18,000 people. I still think it's more than that. And it's a unique suburb of San Antonio because Boerne doesn't really like to associate with San Antonio. I don't know why, it's a great city. But in reality, you can get from Boerne to San Antonio in about 15 minutes. To me, that's a suburb. If you're from Boerne, let me know in the comments. Boerne residents say that it's really broken up into two areas. Number one is the older side of Boerne, which has half-acre lots. It's facing the river, old Texas town. There's even a crossing for ducks in the middle of downtown, which I think is pretty cool. And then there's the developed Boerne, which is packing homes. There's also canyons at Overlook, which is a very luxurious community. We have a listing there for 1.6. Let me know if you want to know more. Boerne is considered the majority a white-collared resident area because 89% of the workforce are employed with white-collar jobs. Boerne home prices are very expensive, and it is ranked amongst the highest priced homes in America. Now that's a very small pocket of Boerne, but I'm gonna let you know what the median house price in Boerne is. But before then, let's look at the crime. Now Boerne has a crime index surprisingly at 35, which according to Neighborhood Scout is not as safe as Helotes or Schertz or Floresville. Violent crime in Boerne is about 2% per 1,000 residents. Boerne's majority age group is between 35 and 54, which makes up about 25.1% of the population. Median household income is about $78,000, which is higher than the US. And employment industries in Boerne, of course, the number one is going to be healthcare. I'm interested to know what the others are. I'm assuming it's going to be self-employment because being 15 minutes away from the city, that's considered far. Let me know what other industries can employ people in Boerne. Race and ethnicity is going to be 65.8% white, 30% Hispanic Latino, 2.3% other race, 1% Black African American, and 0.4% Pacific. Language spoken is going to be mainly English. Median home price in Boerne is $609,000. I totally believe it because right next door to Boerne is Fair Oaks Ranch, which has even higher median home price. It's a very beautiful community. Now the bonus suburb of San Antonio and the hottest zip code, the hottest market is going to be New Braunfels. In my other video, hottest zip codes and what's coming soon to San Antonio, I talk about New Braunfels, and it was in so many different articles across the US. New Braunfels is exploding. New Braunfels has a population now of 90,000 people. It's almost at equilibrium, and my favorite part about New Braunfels is number one, the location, but number two, the restaurants, amenities, the lifestyle, the pride in living in New Braunfels. It's definitely a cool city, and I can see why it's exploding. New Braunfels has a crime index of 37. Remember, 100 is the safest. And they do have a lot of festivals. There's Warsfest, there's Float in the River, there's German festivals. So it does have a lot of tourism and a lot of drinking while floating. And I guess you have to pee on yourself when you're on the float. So that can lead to some problems. Violent crime per 1,000 residents is 2.42 in New Braunfels, which is pretty close to the average of all the other suburbs. The school districts in New Braunfels are highly rated according to niche.com. The population in New Braunfels is a little bit of a younger crowd, or young families, or young people. You have a much larger 25 to 30 percentile, which is 14.7%. You have a larger population of 25-year-olds to 34-year-olds, which is about 14.7%. 35 to 54 is 26.2%, which is higher than the other suburbs. Median household income for a San Antonio suburb is pretty normal, which is $71,272, and healthcare being at the top of the list for employment. Race and ethnicity, we have 59% white, 36.4% Hispanic or Latino, 1.4% Black or African American, other race 1.64%, Asian 1.3%. Now the ancestry of New Braunfels is worth mentioning. 20% of the ancestry of New Braunfels is German. Just like Germans were the first ones to settle in San Antonio, Germans were the first ones to settle in New Braunfels. So they still celebrate those ancestry traits with a lot of drinking. New Braunfels has a median home price of $456,000 and a medium household income of about $70,000. You can get a lot for your money in New Braunfels, but the demand there is very, very high. One more thing. If you're looking to move around the San Antonio area, our team would love to help. Shoot us a message, give us an email, and we'd love to walk you through the process and explain things a little bit further.